Buy-to-let is the absolute foundation of any buy-to-let strategy nowadays. And in this video, I'm going to run you through the basics of how you can find, build, and fund a successful buy-to-let portfolio. Welcome back, guys. Thanks for sticking around. My name's Sam Norris and I'm the owner and director of Grand Union Finance, a specialist brokerage that helps investors and developers fund their property projects. And today we're going to be delving into the basics of buy-to-let, one of my favorite all-time property strategies. Now, before we get into too much detail on this, let's just go through actually what buy-to-let actually means. Now, a property that you own and you rent to somebody else for rental income is a buy-to-let property. Effectively, what you're doing is you're creating a home for somebody else that they pay you a monthly fee to live in. Pretty much as simple as that. Now, nowadays, there's actually a few different ways in which buy-to-let actually works. We've got our tried and tested old-fashioned way of buying a buy-to-let portfolio, generally buying a standard normal property that is ready to be rented out, putting down a 25% deposit and getting a 75% loan to value mortgage on that. Nowadays though, we've got a bit more of a modern strategy of buy-to-let, which we call BRR, which stands for buy, refurbish, refinance. And what BRR investors do is they'll find a property that requires some work. They'll use either cash or some bridging finance to purchase that property. They'll do a renovation to add value to that property, and then they will refinance that property in order to recycle some of the cash that they've put in, essentially allowing them to buy another property quicker because it won't take them as long to save up another deposit. In the middle of those two, we've got a bit of a hybrid where you might still buy a property that needs a little bit of work, but you can still buy it with a mortgage, do a very, very minute amount of work, maybe put it onto a 2-year fixed rate, and at the end of that 2-year fixed rate, you'll refinance based on maybe an increased value, based on a bit of capital growth over that point, and the value that you've added at the beginning, and then you can re-release some of your funds at that point. One of the key basics when it comes to buy-to-let is how you fund it. We call that leverage. Now, when it comes to that tried and tested method that I talked about earlier on, when we're borrowing, say 75% loan to value on the purchase, that's going to come by way of a buy-to-let mortgage. Now, how much you can borrow on a buy-to-let mortgage has very little to do with your actual income. It's going to be all to do with what kind of rental income the property generates. Lenders will use a rental calculator to basically work out whether the rental income that your property is going to be generating on a monthly basis is going to be enough to allow you to borrow, say, 75% loan to value. What most lenders will use is a standard rental calculator, which means that they're first of all going to stress test the monthly payment with an interest rate of 5.5%, and they're going to want your rental income to be 125% of that figure. So let's quickly go through that again. They're going to stress test the mortgage amount that you want to borrow at an interest rate of 5.5%, how much you would pay interest on your interest-only payments per month. They would need to see that your rental income is 125% of that figure. So sounds a bit tricky, but realistically, most decently yielding properties will actually allow you to borrow how much you need. Now, if it doesn't, there are ways of getting around this, and some lenders can be a bit more flexible when it comes to that rental calculator, and some will have certain products, such as a 5-year fixed rate, that won't stress test it as strictly, and it will usually allow you to borrow how much you actually want to borrow. Now, when it comes to the BRR strategy, we've got to think about our leverage in a slightly different way. Because we can't necessarily use a mortgage if we're going to be refinancing quickly. Don't forget, mortgage means till death. It's a long-term financial solution. We can't refinance it in like sort of 6 months of ownership because that will be going against your mortgage contract. What we look to do instead is purchase the property either by using cash, or if we're talking about leverage, we're going to be using something called a bridging loan. Now, I've got plenty of videos about bridging loans, so I will put a link in the comments down below, in the caption down below, to a couple of those videos on bridging finance that you can get a little bit more information of. But essentially, bridging finance is like a mortgage, but it's a short-term version. It allows us to refinance whenever we want, and it also gives us the flexibility to actually do a thorough renovation without a mortgage lender telling us that we need to get that property rented out and on the market for rent as soon as possible. So it gives us that element of flexibility. So whether you're actually following the tried and tested method or the BRR method, and you're taking out a mortgage or a bridge, at the moment, using leverage is actually a really, really good choice. At the moment, the Bank of England base rate is as low as it's ever been in history, 0.1%, which means that mortgage rates and bridging rates are at an all-time low as well. So now really is an amazing time to be getting into either of these strategies from a finance perspective, because the cost of borrowing is so low at the moment. However, when it comes to the BRR method, don't become too obsessed with recycling all of your cash. The property market at the moment in the end of 2022 is pretty buoyant. We've gone through a real phase of massive growth, and as a result, it's becoming increasingly difficult when we're following the BRR method to get what we call a money in, money out deal. So although we're talking about the basics of buy-to-let here, I wanted to make that point because it's really, really important that you don't get obsessed with recycling all of your cash. You're not going to get it all out. Let's just get as much as we can out and help you build that property portfolio. And just to round off this little part about funding, when it comes to leveraging, let's not over leverage. It's really important that we don't over leverage. When it comes to mortgages, I often say to my clients, stick to 75% loan to value as much as you possibly can for two main reasons. Number one, if the property market actually starts receding, starts going down, starts declining, you may find that your loan to value creeps above what the absolute maximum loan to values in the market are for mortgages, which means that when you come to remortgage, you may have to actually put money back into the deal just to get your loan to value down, which obviously is going to suck if you're trying to build a property portfolio and you need as much money as you possibly can. In addition to that, as you grow your portfolio and you get to 4 or more in your portfolio, mortgage lenders will now consider you something called a portfolio landlord. Very sexy title. What that basically means is lenders have to do an additional amount of due diligence on you because you're now considered to be a property professional. You actually have and manage a professional property portfolio. Now, there are a couple of things that lenders will need to do there, which I won't go into on this video, but one that's really important for this is that they will also not just be doing that rental stress test that I spoke about earlier on the security property, which means the property that they're actually lending on, but they will also need to do a stress test on your background portfolio. Now, there's no sort of exact science when it comes to this, but essentially, if you are leveraged across your portfolio at more than 75%, there's a really good chance that that calculation will fail. So it could mean that you're going to be buying an amazing property, but it's your background portfolio that will mean that ultimately the loan will decline, which is a real shame. So quick hint from me, keep your leverage as low as you possibly can, realistically below 75%. Don't go above 75%, guys. It's not going to help you out in the long run. So now we've got the boring stuff out the way, let's talk about what you're actually going to be looking for when you're searching for that first buy-to-let property. For me, when I'm speaking to clients, we talk about 4 main things that you're going to be looking for when you're searching for that first buy-to-let property. The first is going to be, is the rental income going to be good? Simple as that. You want the rental income to be good, otherwise what's the point in buying it in the first place? The second is, can you actually get it at a good price? Some people will call this, can you buy below market value, BMV. It's a little bit of a cheesy term, but essentially if a property is worth £100,000 and you can negotiate a price where you actually purchase it for £95,000, you have actually got it potentially below what the open market value is at the moment, which means that when you are coming to refinance that property in the future, you may have an opportunity to actually release a bit of equity to help you grow your portfolio. So buying as low as you possibly can is a real help, and that's something you should certainly be looking at. The third thing to look at is there a possibility where you can actually add some value? A lot of my clients, especially those that are following the BRR, buy, refurbish, refinance strategy, are actually looking for properties where they can add some value to the property. So maybe that it requires a renovation. That could be something as light as a new kitchen, new bathroom, and a bit of paint, maybe some new flooring. But some of my clients will go all the way back to brick, redo the gas system, the electric system, the central heating system, all these kinds of things really add some substantial value. Some of them even go one step further and maybe add an extension or a side extension, or go into the loft, create more space, create more square footage on the property, which obviously can add value, and maybe even shift the floor plan around a little bit as well to make it a little bit more pleasing and a bit more easy to get around the property. A great example of that might be some of the old London properties that you get where the bathroom is right at the back of the property, at the back behind the kitchen. Not really a very good layout, and so a lot of my clients will buy properties like that and move the bathroom upstairs as an example. And the fourth and final thing that you want to be looking at when you are looking to purchase your first buy-to-let property is, what is the potential for growth in the area? I had a friend that lived just outside of Liverpool, and when we were looking at some property investments about 3 or 4 years ago, he was telling me about some of the infrastructure improvements that were going on in the area that may mean that in the future there's a lot of value being added. There's loads of things up and down the country that are going on that are going to add value to certain parts of the country. HS2 at the moment is a great example. Transport is always a fantastic thing to keep an eye on, because improved transportation links are obviously going to have a really good knock-on effect when it comes to the price of property over a course of time. So do a bit of research into the area. Is it in an area where there is a really good potential for growth? Because what that is going to allow you to do is to utilize that property time and time again to re-release money every time that you want to refinance, so that you can continue to build your portfolio. Now, it's really, really important to understand that those 4 things are 4 things that you really want to be looking at, but you don't need every single one of them in order for the deal to be a good deal. If you're focused primarily on cash flow, then potentially a property that has really good rental income and potentially something you can buy below market value, they might be your 2 key factors that you look at. So that your strategy is going to dictate which of those 4 become the most priority for you when searching for that first property. So guys, let's just summarize what we've gone through in this video. Firstly, what does buy-to-let mean? Are we talking about a traditional buy-to-let? Are we talking about the BRR strategy? You need to focus on which one of those is going to be your primary strategy. Secondly, leverage. How are you going to raise finance? Is it going to be via a mortgage? Is it going to be via a bridge? Understanding what both of those mean and how you arrange them is going to be fundamental when it comes to helping yourself build a really sustainable and awesome property portfolio. And lastly, the 4 things that you're going to be looking at when searching for that property. We want a good price, we want something with great rental income, something that you can add value to, and something that potentially is going to actually see some growth organically over the course of the next few years. So guys, thanks ever so much for watching my video. If it has been of help, please consider subscribing to the channel and clicking that like button. It tells YouTube that you've enjoyed the video, and potentially others might too, so it really helps me grow the channel. Also, don't forget to check out some of the other videos on my channel that I'm sure will help you when it comes to investing in property. For now guys, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.